welcome to Parenting Tuesday this morning. And we are so glad to have you joining us and listening to us and also watching us from wherever you are. So today we'll be having a very sensitive topic. It's a journey that most of us have been through. It's not an easy one. It's a very personalized one, and it's about coping with grief. I know everybody at some point in their lives, they've been in that space. It's not a very beautiful space to be, but how can you just manage that space? How can you manage the grief? It could be the loss of a loved one. It could be going through a divorce. It could be losing a job, losing money, moving houses, failing in an exam, and even just losing your pet. All those are losses. And today we are going to be discussing how to cope with whichever type of grief that you may be going through or loss. And I have a very loving and just an amazing panel, which is very interesting because the panel, both my panelists have had their losses in one way or the other. One is an expert. She's gone through a loss, and we want to know, even as an expert, when you go through a loss, how do you deal with that? One is a man of God. He is a preacher. He's in the ministry. So these are people who we go to when we are going through grief, we're going through losses. But in this case, now tables have turned. They are the ones who are now had to look for help. So let's get to know how they maneuvered, how they just got to get out of this particular pain and space, get to know the several stages of mourning, get to know the types of grief that are there. And without much further ado, I would just like to welcome my amazing panel to the studio, thanking them so much for coming. Reverend Njeru, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. And also Wanjiko, the psychologist, karibuni sana.
Thank you so much.
And first things first, I'll start with you, Rev. Just give us a brief history about yourself. Let our viewers and listeners get to know who you are.
Wow, thank you so much, Sally. I'm glad to be here again, Family Media. Mm-hmm. And my name is Reverend Njeru.
Yes.
I'm born again. I'm blessed of the Lord.
Amen.
I'm a pastor with the Transformation Ministries, Royal Treasure Church. I lead the branch, which is in Kabiria, here in Nairobi, Kenya. Okay. And apart from being a pastor, I am a family man.
Wow.
I'm married to one female wife. I wouldn't say the most beautiful. One female wife. I wouldn't say the most beautiful.
Yeah.
But of course, the beauty is in the beholder. But I would say that to me, she is beautiful.
Yes.
The mother of about 3 children, Jamin Siti Njeru.
Okay.
We'll be talking a little bit about Jamin Siti Njeru.
Yes.
Caesar Mwaki, who is doing his Form 4 now.
Wow.
Just started. And we have Segula Kazuri.
Okay.
She's in grade 7. And we have also 2 adopted children.
Wow.
One in Form 1 and another one in grade 6.
Amazing.
So we have 2 candidates kept there and a Form 4. Apart from that, I do a lot of leadership training. And I'm also an author of an award, nominated a book, You Are Not a Failure. And actually, the awards will be this year, sometime in November.
Fantastic.
In Uganda. And apart from that, I do a lot of inspirational speaking.
Okay.
Not motivational, but inspirational.
Okay.
Because we know that when you do motivate, after the motivation, then what next?
What next?
So inspiration is like lighting a fire, and then you leave it burning, then you fan the fire.
Okay.
So that is who I am in brief, and I really thank God to be here.
Asante sana. Karibu. Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. Awesome. And we wish you all the best by the person in the nomination.
Wow, thank you so
all
much.
The best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm Wanjiko Murigi,
Yes.
a counseling psychologist. I'm mother of 3 young children, a wife, if I can put it like that.
Yes.
And grief, yes, it's something that we all go through. And it doesn't have an end, as we assume that you reach the end, now you're done.
And you move on with your life like nothing happened.
Yes. So this conversation is going to be very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a conversation that we've had with a couple of people.
Yes.
Every so often. Yeah, yes. Looking forward to the show. What else I do podcast.
Okay.
Yeah, yes. It's called The Walk, like maximum 10 minutes of my relationship with God.
Wow.
I'm also born again.
Oh, yeah.
And The Walk is inspired by my relationship with my children.
Okay.
So do I say I relate it to my relationship with God?
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow, fantastic, amazing. You know, I said it that it's going to be very, very interesting. And already, I mean, you can tell from the tempo of the conversation how it's going. So we thank God. And now I'll start with Reverend Njiru.
Yeah.
You've been in a journey. We're talking about coping with grief today. You've been in this journey for, I think, the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that today I'm meeting you in this space, because 5 years ago we met in a very different, surreal space, if I may call it that.
Yeah.
So probably you may just take our viewers and our listeners through that particular journey of your daughter, Jermaine Siti.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Sally, for that particular way of asking me. It was actually on 23rd of September, 2019, very early in the morning. I had already said goodbye to our children. I had left the house at 5:40. They normally wake up very early in the morning. Actually, I had left at 5:30. They used to go to school at 5:40.
Okay.
And I was actually going to see my lecturer, who was my professor.
Yes.
At that time, I was doing my master's. So it was a journey of about 30 kilometers. So I had to go very early because I had a 7 in the morning appointment.
Okay.
So I left and said goodbye to them. When I arrived in his office, that was about 6:50. So I received a call from one of my colleagues. And then he said, and even before I would say anything, there was a lot of noise at the background, a lot of crying. Then I asked him, Kuhani, you know, that's another way of asking preacher or pastor, what is happening where we are? Then he said, the school that your children's schools or goes to school has collapsed.
Oh my God.
Please make your way here immediately. Then almost commanding him, I said, you know my children, please look for them. So we cut off the conversation, went back to the professor. Then I told him, excuse me, I'm sorry, we cannot continue with this conversation. Please allow me to leave because this is what has happened. Then he said, well and good. That is the first time I thought of having a chopper. Because I could not imagine in the morning, there's a lot of jam. I was somewhere in the, in Tawala. And I could not imagine the jam up to Gong Road.
And making your way back in good
Yes,
time.
it was so devastating. But somehow I made it to the place. But by that time, we were actually having a conversation. But immediately after that, I called my wife and I told her, please, this is what has happened. Please make your way to the school. She was preparing our little daughter. Then I said, if she is not ready, she will prepare herself. So, but then they worked together. We kept on communicating. But to cut a very long story short, my firstborn daughter, Jermaine Siti Njiru, that time she was 14 years, 1 month, 13 days old. When the school collapsed, 8 children died. And she was among them that passed on. Index number 001. The brightest girl in the school, aspiring to be a medical doctor. Somebody who was a genius. Somebody who was a mentor, and actually academic mentor. And the deskmate who survived is the one who actually topped the school that year with 408 marks. And she was giving her a range of 430, 450. She had actually told us that I will be among the first 5 top candidates of the KCPE that year. And then she was saying that if that's not the case, I'll be the first girl. And she also told us it will be in the newspapers, TV stations, radio stations. And because of that celebration. But was she there? Yes, she was, for the wrong reasons. But of course, that door now opened for me to go into those spaces, and so that I can also encourage other people, those who have gone through a grave. And as we are here today, God has helped us to get over it. As much as we can remember her story, as much as we can relate and remember the day. We don't remember the day because of the loss. We remember the day because of the impact she has actually made. I've written a book, You're Not a Failure, and I've actually featured her. 1/3 of the book is about her story. And the book has gone to over 30 countries of the world. And everybody that reads it says, I can relate with this, I can relate with this. And I'm getting healed out of this. So for the 5 years that now we could be celebrating. But every time we remember, we say, we could see how she's still alive now. Because one of the statements that I use is, it is not how long you live, but what you live for.
Yeah.
We have overcome that. When we remember, we have now become like doctors who have gone through a certain surgery, that painful journey.
Yes.
And now we are encouraging other people that even if there's a loss, you can overcome.
Yes.
You can focus on the beautiful side of it.
Absolutely. The beautiful side of it, Wanjiku. Beautiful side of pain, beautiful side of grief. You've been there. Speak to us about that loss, that grief, as now an expert, the pandit here. Of course, a bit of your story, but what do you think his emotions were at that time? Then he'll tell us exactly what he was feeling.
You know, thank you for that question. It's very interesting. And when he started talking, I was like, the person who broke the news did it in such, according to, do I say professionally, it was really cruel way. There's news that you don't break like bluntly on the phone because that can cause a shock, another loss, or even someone to even cause an accident on the way back. Because normally, like when there's a time I was working in the hospital, and when you're supposed to break such news, you don't just say someone has gone. It's you start from somewhere.
You prepare someone.
When was the last time you saw, the conversations that you had, what would you feel about this? Because now, in my opinion, what the person would have said is that, please come to school urgently, because it's something that is happening or something that has happened. Then now when you get to the school, they can break the news so that you don't collapse or something.
Because assuming he had even like blood pressure or something, you just shot.
And I'm wondering, when you had that call, the school has collapsed, what was the first thought in your mind?
Well, thank you for that question. It is very interesting because being a pastor, I have dealt with so many cases, loss, some of them abrupt, and being a pastor, being also an encourager, an inspirational speaker. I also do counseling as well. And we have also counseled some very serious cases. But then the first thing that came to me is, now the things I have been handling has now come home. And for me, at one time it was, what exactly is it? The school has collapsed, yes. But I could not imagine that our girl was dead. But I thought, yes, the school has collapsed, yes, there's an emergency, there's a lot of wailing.
But chances are high that your child is not in that.
That is what was in my mind, that she is not dead. Because even that particular Sunday, we were actually in school.
There was a prayer the day before.
There was a prayer before. And we were being briefed, for the KCSE. KCPE. So we were wondering now, what has happened between that space? It was almost less than 12 hours. But in the same class there was a party inside there. That Sunday evening. And so it was like, it cannot happen. But later we discovered, or I discovered, as much as the loss came home, I lost a daughter. My first one, we were very, very, very close with my daughter. In fact, even the mom used to also to complain that she is almost walking, using my walking style. She's copying my walking style, but complaining in a good way. So I never thought it would happen to me. But when it happened, then the question is not why. But what lesson am I learning?
Exactly.
Because like when I ask why, it is like...
We're going to get into that. I love that. I love that. That even in grief, you still were able to open your eyes and check out like what lessons am I learning here? But was it immediate? We're going to get to that.
Yes.
But Daktari, so in this kind of, situation, you're here, you've lost your loved one like that, it's abrupt. This person, if you met them like at that point, how would you handle them at that point?
Now, not being a pastor, not being a professional is very different from somebody else. Because now, like for him, he had moment to process. For me, I had moment to process. And let me maybe also put this. Grief is different, right? There's... it's called anticipatory grief, where someone is unwell, they have a chronic illness, so they're expecting it.
Absolutely.
So it's very different from the one that is just abrupt. So those two are extremely different. So in how you even handle it is going to be
different as well.
Very different. Because one is you break the news and then you know at the end of the day, this is a possibility. Not that that is what is going to happen, but at the end of the day, this is the possibility. So there might be death. So before even the person passes on, we're already expecting it and we're already processing it. But then the one, for instance, is I've found, maybe it is Sally who's, what example do you use? Let me use myself. It's Wanjiko. And maybe there's a friend that I had and the friend has passed on. And we assume I'm not professional at all. It is now breaking it that, what name do we give? Steve was heading somewhere, then got involved in another accident, and sadly, we've lost him. Or he's in critical condition in hospital. Now, there is, again, two ways. Either we've lost or critical condition. Critical condition is what is next. Let's go and see and hear and find out. Passing there, of course, the doctors will... There are some doctors who will handle it well, and then the doctors will be extremely...
We'll just break it as it is.
And you say, we tried everything, but then the person has didn't make it. That is not like the person has died. Because the shock would be extreme. But if I take you slowly, I'm able to measure your emotions as we move. Now professionally. Yes.
Wow.
So now here we are, Remjeru, you've received the news. How did you now communicate with you told your wife to just come to go to school, and so she got there before you?
Yes, actually, because from Utawala to where the school was is about 28 kilometers. And so in the morning, so that's where the peak of the jam. So I picked when we disconnected the call, I called my wife, then I told her. Actually, that was the first time that she picked the call, the very first time. I'm not saying that women or ladies or wives don't pick calls because they have so many compartments in their headphones. And sometimes maybe the phone is a little bit far from them.
But for some reason, that day she picked on the first ring.
She picked on the first ring. And then I said, I have just received some news that there is an accident and we are our children's schools. That time we had 2 children there. And I said, please go and check what is happening there. So because I did not also have information, what was happening. And also I didn't want to sound that this is very grievous. Just said, please go and check what is happening there. So we met. So we kept on actually communicating. And so it took me quite a while. But we kept communicating. And she told me that this place is terrible. And she's one of the person who actually gets overwhelmed, very easily. But for one reason or the other, God gave us a strength that day.
She was strong.
She was moving from one place to another. And I told her, please move to every health facility around there. Find what is happening because the injured are rushed all over. Then I said, I'll start with KNH. So even by the time I reached that, actually that time I was using a matatu. And when I would sit here and I was actually sweating in the morning at 6. 6, it was asking like the person sitting next to me is like, is this person okay? But of course,
your body now is processing the information you've received.
And by the end of the day, I thought the bus was moving so slowly. I thought of taking a Dudhi, a motorbike. Then I said, well, I will not be stable. So it will be a double tragedy. So I really sat in the bus. And I actually alighted at the Nyayo National Stadium. I made a shortcut through Upper Hill. So I thought I would walk faster.
You actually walked?
I actually walked from Nyayo Stadium.
Because the traffic was crazy.
And the traffic was still there, but I thought now it's nothing moving. So I said I can even move faster than the bus. So when I arrived at just near KNH, I received a call from my wife's phone. But this time there was a different voice. And then she said, Baba Jamin, please don't go to KNH. Please come directly to school. And then she said actually to a different health center. Then I could not recognize the voice. But actually she was my sister-in-law, my wife's sister. And then I said, please tell me what has happened. I'm the dad. Whatever has happened, please tell me. Then she said, no, please come. She disconnected. I called again, she didn't call. She didn't pick the call. So here I'm in KNH, I'm a little bit now confused. And I'm not very sure for how long I was there in the stage. And I realized they did not even have enough money because I could not even think about M-Pesa. I could not even think about ATM. Because the money I had was little, because I was to finish with the professor, then at least do some liquidity, get some liquid cash. So I'm there. I think I had 20 shillings. So I get the matatu was going to Ngong. That time I realized I am full of dust.
Yeah.
I think because of walking.
So all this is part of now the grieving has started, but has the grieving started at this point?
Because now this is shock.
This is shock now.
This is shock.
Even doing things that are not normal, like even
even the walking, the sweating.
Okay, so the grieving process starts almost immediately.
It starts immediately.
You receive whatever news, or whatever results.
Yes.
So I'm there, and I have my 20 shillings. I asked them, can you please drop me to this place, pathway? So they tell me this here, at your next stage. Kambia basi, wacha ningie, mahali pesa yangu itaishia. Itashuka hapo. Then the guy looked at me, he's like, this guy is not normal.
Yeah.
But actually, several vehicles passed. But then one of them again akaniambia we ingia gari. So tukaingia. Actually, I dropped a stage before. I also walked again. So by the time I reached that particular place, it was a certain health center.
Okay.
The place was I would say that it was packed.
Chaotic, kind of, because everyone is trying to...
It was a little bit of some order, because now the police has already come in, there was ambulances, there was at least some order.
This is where all the bodies were taken?
Not all of them, some of them, because those who were critically injured were rushed to different hospitals.
Right.
But that particular health center, that is where now those who were already dead, they were put there.
Okay.
So I arrived there, I see my son, I hug my son. I tell him, well, he had all his bags, he had 2 bags.
Yeah.
And he saw me, he said, oh, Dad, you have come. He said, yeah, I'm here. Then I said, be strong. I'm here for you.
Yeah.
I hugged him. Then I said, please, sit here. Let me see what is happening.
Yeah.
I'm coming back. Then there were around 4 or 5 boys there.
Okay.
They sat, I made them sit under a shade. Then I went inside. That time already the door was already marked, already armed. There was some policemen with, with guns and all that. And restricting everybody goes on. By that time, the names were already out. Okay. So I said, Baba Swan. So they ushered me in. And then when I'm ushered in, then I find my sister-in-law. Yeah. She hugged me again. And then she directed me to where the body is. Then there was another...
so at this point, you already know or feel that Jermaine is no more?
Yeah, because there were names, and I wouldn't actually imagine that. But I thought now this is the place where now the critically injured. They are being attended to. Okay. So there was another medic, so we walked together. So there was a table like this one here. Then I would see Jermaine sitting lying there with a beautiful smile, with a very nice hair, which she had actually done that Sunday. Oh. And she was motionless, but she was still warm.
Okay. She was motionless and she was still warm.
Yeah.
So you like almost felt like she's still there. Now, we are here, Wanjiko, and Rev has gotten there, and here is the daughter. He's grieving. There are different types of grief. Maybe you can just talk to our viewers and listeners about the different types of grief, so that as we come back to him explaining to us what was going through, then we can be able to tell this is the type of grief he was going through. So what are the types of grief that probably as human beings we go through, because of the losses we go through, whether divorce, money, loss of a loved one?
Yes.
Yeah.
So as I said, the one that we normally, the one that is we are prepared for.
Yes.
Anticipatory, the one that we are anticipating, right? And then there's the ambivalent. Why am I forgetting?
Ambivalent?
Yes, ambivalent that we go through. Okay. That is the normal one and very fast. Okay. Right? And then there's the normal where it's as day per day grief. And then there's the prolonged one because you're not able to, in our African society, we're not allowed to express emotions. And most of the times you're told, when your loved one has died, don't cry. And especially if you're like the strongest in the family or you're the eldest, don't cry because the rest will be weak. Like, show them you're strong. So you end up
withholding a lot of
withholding. Yeah, which is like, for lack of a better word, the worst.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
You bottle up those emotions.
A lot
and
of
is
it.
this what brings about complicated grief?
It is what brings about it, because you don't know what to do with what you're feeling. You don't know when it is safe for you to let go.
Yeah.
You don't know what to do with what you're feeling. Is it normal? Am I being unfair? Am I being this or the other? Let me give an example with myself.
Okay.
So we lost mom in 2022.
Okay.
And on the day of the funeral, many people kept telling me, you're the strongest. Don't cry.
Yeah.
Don't let the other one see you crying, because where will their hope come from?
Are you the firstborn?
No, I'm
No, you're not. Okay. But you're the
Let's say-
strongest. Yeah.
Well, they assume, and we assume that not crying is being strong. Like the way when the boy child is told, don't cry,
Yeah.
because you're showing emotion.
Yeah.
But then with a loss that I had gone through when I was much younger,
Okay.
I knew no.
I'm not gonna withhold my
We are not
emotions.
holding
Yeah.
back. And how I'll deal with it will not affect how my siblings
Everybody
will deal
processes
with
their
it.
grief differently, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. So yeah, those are the few types.
Okay.
And then also with grief, there are different stages. As I said,
Before we get to the stages, there's loss or death by suicide.
yes.
Do people grieve the same
No.
way?
No.
Is it the same, or or is it also? I don't know. How do people? How are we supposed to grieve over someone who? Because there are people who would go like, why did they do? You're bitter, you're angry, and I think that's where we'll get to the stages.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now, first it depends with who.
Yes.
Is it your child? Is it a parent? Is it just a relative?
Yes.
Right? For a child, the parent is left blaming, and also it's a part of the stages. Yes.
Yeah.
So you're left blaming, feeling I didn't do enough. I would have done.
What
It
did
is
I
my
miss?
fault. Exactly.
Yeah.
If it's for a child, it becomes, and also for the parent. There's also trauma.
Yeah.
That if this child has done this, and in case there are other children, you might either withhold from the others. I don't want to make the same mistake. I don't want them going through the same thing. So you sort of, are now hands off, arm's length with parenting your children, and also the blaming, right? Now, if it's for the children who have lost parent by suicide, there's also the blame, and for them there's trauma, and then also there's society stigma that if you can do this, we don't want to be associated with you. So it becomes not only grief of loss of people by suicide, there's also grief of now you've become stigmatized by the society. Yeah.
Whoa.
So it's a big, maybe this needs a couple of more.
Yeah, or more, more sitting so that we're,
Because I'm also trying to pack it in a way that you don't miss it, and you also understand and can be able to process it. Because suicide is a huge...
It is a whole different topic altogether, like you said.
Yeah.
So now, back to Reverend Njeru.
Yes.
Here you are, you've lost your daughter, your firstborn, a brilliant, brilliant girl. And something you said that touched me was, she was in the newspaper for the
wrong reasons.
For the wrong reasons. Yeah. How did her loss affect you as a family, the day-to-day, your day-to-day life? How did it change?
I would say that, picking it from where we left, that I've just seen the girl, touched her.
Yeah.
She's warm, smiling, but no heartbeat. So I realized this is it.
Yeah.
We have lost her. And she had no physical injury from what I would see. And that's the time now I really broke down. And I sat down and I really cried. Just the reality has hit home.
Yeah.
That the information I got from about 6:50, now it's almost past 10.
Yeah.
Now this is all that you see now. That's a long time. Trying out, psychological mind torture. What is anticipated? Nobody's giving you
any answers,
correct information.
Yeah.
But then here I am. I've just discovered it by myself, and I would now just almost every now crumpled down.
Yeah.
And I really cried, shed tears, and I was there for a while. And I remember I was one of the first people, actually, to speak to the media.
Yeah.
just encouraging
Yeah.
people that this has happened, but we are here, we are strong, we are focused. One of the things, amazing things that happened with Jamin Sirinjero, when she died, and when I saw her, she actually had a pen on her hand.
Oh.
So it looks like she was actually writing when the accident happened. So the hand, the pen was still on her hand.
Oh.
So, and that is now when later on, even my book that I've written here, You're Not a Failure, and I have actually shared her story here, I have ended the story by saying that I picked her pen and started or continued writing her story.
Oh, wow.
Her story is so inspirational that she already knew what she wanted
Yeah.
at that age. She was a musician. She had already composed her first song at 4 years old. She was a fine artist. She, even today we still have her drawings, and her sister now has taken that gifting of drawing. She's very good in drawing. She's also a musician. And when I see that, I see now her footsteps
Yeah.
in my younger daughter.
Yeah.
And after that, when we did sharing through the media, and then it was very fast. And the other day, actually, somebody also called me from Trinidad and Tobago, and she told me, "Oh, I saw your story from CNN."
Is
You can
it?
imagine. And then, well, the story was global. And now from that time, because she was our first daughter, very close. How did it affect my life? I now becoming so close to children, especially their age.
Okay.
And actually, it is also important for you to know that I have been dealing with primary school children from 2013 up to now. I still do with them.
And that was way before even this incident.
So when it happened, and I'm also used to dedicating candidates class 8. The hardest one was that year, because how would I be praying for candidates to pass their exams?
Yeah.
Yet my own daughter has passed on. But that never
deterred you.
Put me away or deterred me from the focus, because I could actually see my daughter in so many other daughters.
Yeah.
One time I went to a program, and I saw a lady, and when he spoke a little bit, she bought my book later. And then after 1 year, she called me back. And she told me, you have been working with my daughter. She was actually thinking class 8 also that time.
Yeah.
And then after she finished Form 4, and then she told me that, when you spoke to my daughter and encouraged her, she also emerged with a very good grade in her KCSE.
Fantastic.
So I would actually also see my daughter in other kinds of children.
This kind of excellence encouraged you to keep on doing what you're doing.
And then one of the best things that happened just a few months ago, I met one of our friends. She left the school. They were in school together in grade 6.
Okay.
And she went to school in Mombasa. So I met her along the way one time, and she was like, "Oh, that is Baba Jamin." So she came and shook my hand. Then I asked her, "Where are you now?" Then she told me, "I'm doing a course in medicine." Then I say, "Medicine? You are not part of medicine. You are art student. What changed?" Then she told me, "You are girl encouraged me to do something medical."
Wow. Yeah. You are talking about the stages of grieving.
Yeah.
So at this point, where is Rev? So take us through the stages, then we'll be able to pick where he is at, and then we continue picking up again with him to see how he fared on. So, Wanjiko.
All right.
Yeah.
So we started with where he's been called.
Yes.
And we said he got into shock,
Yeah.
right? Which is the usual first stage. And then after shock, we get into denial. How can it can't be me, it can't be my child. As he said, the body is still warm, so maybe there's a possibility.
Yeah.
Then we start bargaining, like, God, please, like if you bring them back, I will do.
Yeah.
Or if I can do this, or if like there's a whole bargain there, like it's
you're negotiating
really, yes,
now.
We need to. I need an exchange.
Yeah.
Right. Then after the bargain, we go into depression.
Okay.
Depression that you're sad, all the emotions, all the do I say the emotions that we assume that are weaknesses. And after that, we go into acceptance. But Sally, let me say it like this. You don't have to heal in those exact stages.
Yeah.
you can find that I've gotten into shock and then immediately into depression. One day I've accepted, then I go back into denial.
Yeah.
So it's completely jumbled up. Though I know sometimes people expect that you're going to go, but yesterday you were in depression, so now you have to be in acceptance.
So like in school, class 1, 2, 3, you don't have to go like that.
No. You don't have to go through that. And as we are saying, you've lost your mom, I've lost mine. And there are days I'll be like, today we are okay.
Yeah.
Today we are fine. And then you go into her house and see something.
trigger.
Yes.
Yeah.
You see something that belonged to her, or there's just a scent.
You're
Like
right.
the other day I was telling my sister, is it me or mom's scent is still in here? And she was
Lingering.
like, it's you.
Oh.
It's not there.
Yeah.
It's you, Wanjiku.
Okay.
And it breaks you because you're like, okay,
Yeah.
you've moved on and me, I haven't.
I
Why have you
haven't.
moved on faster than I have? And
That's why we
then-
say it's a unique
Yes, it's
journey.
very,
quite
very
personalized,
unique.
isn't
Yes.
it?
And just because you keep going back and forth, it
Yeah.
doesn't make you less or more, or you shouldn't feel a certain way about
Okay,
it. It's
okay.
very normal. Yeah.
Okay, wow, interesting. Now, Rev, of course, here you are, you're surrounded by people, you have friends, you have colleagues, you know, the other parents of... Was your relationship, social relations, was it affected in any way?
Well, I would say that my social relations actually grew.
Okay.
Because even at that particular day, the fateful day of 23rd of September, 2019, a Monday morning,
Yeah.
we were so busy, trying to see how the process would go. And I believe the earliest we went home was about 3 in the afternoon.
Okay.
Because now the police case and all that. One of our daughters was in a different school.
Okay.
So I called the school and I said, please, we know that this has happened in our community. Please let our daughter, even if the rest know that their school has a collapse, please let our daughter not know what has happened until we come and break the news.
Yourselves?
Yes.
Okay.
So the teacher obliged. So I actually went to pick my daughter. And
Just let me just interject there a bit. What is the importance of that, Wanjiku, that it is the parent who come and just had to deliver that message and not anyone else? Is that important for that child?
It is very important because what it gives the child is comfort and trust and safety. Because you see, your parents are your safe place.
Yeah.
And parents will know the personality of the child.
Yeah.
How do I take the child? And you're
Okay.
more keen to see how is the child taking it. And
All right.
let
Okay.
me just finish.
Yeah.
When the child reacts the way she's going to react,
Yes.
there won't be withheld
The support
emotions,
system is
right?
there.
Dad and mom will allow me to be
Exactly.
me. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So we went to school, and the girl saw me, came running,
Yeah.
hugged me,
Oh.
and said, well, I'm here for you, but you would want to go home early today. Then said, oh, why do you want to go home early today? And I said, well, because we have some visitors. Oh, all right. So I prepared her. And as we were driving home, and so now I had bought her some cookies and something to drink. Then on our way, then I saw this is the right place, the right time to break the news. I broke the news to
Yeah.
her. And she was, I wouldn't actually describe how she behaved, but to make it short, when we went home, our home was actually full.
Oh, yeah.
Our sitting room was full. Our kitchen was full. The compound was littered with cars. People were there. It was like a big meeting.
Yeah.
So we were actually strangers in our own house. And that happened for a whole week. People would leave at 3 in the morning
Okay.
on a daily basis. And quite a number of people send SMSs, telephone calls, came in person. And some of them that we are relating just socially,
Yeah.
even in the social media, they found their way to our place.
To your place. And because of time, and you know, this is a whole interesting topic that I would
Yes.
want us to even go. I think
Yes.
it deserves like 2 hours.
Yes.
But maybe because of time, I may want to rush the conversation.
Yeah.
Daktari, Wanjiku, there are times when you just have this feeling of, for example, Rev, the daughter has passed on, and he's dealing with it very differently and positively in terms of even impacting other children.
Yeah.
But there's this feeling of sometimes, I have to admit, I go through it. Mother's Day, when people are celebrating their mothers, you're jealous, you're irritated. Like, how should one go about that kind of a feeling?
It's interesting, Sally, that you bring that, because for Pasi,
Yeah.
his way of dealing with it is really positive.
Yeah.
But then there's this other side. Do I say, I think also because of your maturity in Christ, in God, has helped
A
him
lot.
Exactly.
and held you, that you are able to pick. Because one of the things that we say help you deal with grief is having a relationship with the good things that you did with the person that you've lost.
Sure.
And yours, you picked it like almost instantly. Right? But then come to this other side where we are breaking and we don't have that maturity, we don't have that support of that I can pick something positive.
Yeah.
Now answering your question.
Yeah.
Yes, there comes that time where you feel, it's Mother's Day, I don't have any mother to celebrate, and here are my friends just buying flowers and chocolate.
Yeah.
You can have your own culture.
Okay.
It doesn't have to involve too many people. Like you can say you and your siblings.
Okay.
What we'll be doing on Mother's Day is celebrating it in this form to celebrate her. And it can be something as simple as, what did she leave in me as a mother?
Okay.
And you're able to celebrate that.
Okay.
Every year, it's not a gap. It's not about comparison. It's not about sabotaging.
Just your
but
personal.
it's your own personal touch. When it comes to birthdays like us, we still celebrate. Mom loved chocolate.
Yeah.
So we celebrated two so far.
Yeah.
But we have to have chocolate.
Something that relates to
Yes,
her
and it was chocolate.
remembrance.
So all of us agreed it's chocolate that we'll have.
Okay.
Wow.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
I think you've answered my question, because I used to be like, okay, I block, I don't want to see. Rev, again, very quickly, you have children. How did the siblings of Jermaine go through in 2 minutes? We have 2 minutes max up to winding up. So you have your children. How did they go? How did they take this? How did you manage them? And so that Wanjiku can close it by telling us, do children grieve differently? Yeah.
The very first thing that happened that when I picked my daughter and went home, my son had already come home earlier with my wife.
Yes.
My son was in the same school but in a different block.
Okay.
So my son actually witnessed everything that was happening.
Yes.
And then by the end of the day, what happened? We evacuated the children from home that particular day.
Okay.
We got somebody who can be able to, but we had also briefed them.
Yeah.
Now telling them, because there are so many distractions here, please, we want you to go somewhere whereby we can be able also to accommodate these other visitors.
Yeah.
So they went away for 2 days.
Okay.
And we also instructed the person who went with them, please talk to them. If they want to talk to us, let them call. And it was very good. Then
so you remove them from this kind of
from home.
the environment.
We removed them from that very night.
Okay.
We removed them for 2 days. But then when we inquired the following day, they were very happy where they were, and then they were helped also to process.
Okay.
And also after that, what happened is that as much as I'm also a counselor helping other people to overcome this, being a pastor as well, we also went out after the burial for a whole week for a retreat, our family only.
Fantastic.
Also
so
being cancelled.
taking time off and cancelling and even removing them from that environment to remind them of their sister.
That's right.
Consistently.
Correct.
In less than 30 seconds.
I'll try.
How do children grieve? Do they grieve? Do they grieve differently?
You will be very surprised.
Yeah.
Children's emotions are at peak.
Okay.
That is why it is important for you to engage and tell them. And it's good that when they left your home, they were taken to a place where they support.
Correct.
Because most of the times what we do is remove and no discussion.
Yeah.
So that child is left confused. We assume they're not understanding what is happening. Like
or they don't feel the loss.
Yeah.
But they do. They actually do.
Yeah.
And when you use correct terms, they'll be able to deal with it. Yes, and deal with it faster.
Okay.
That because now you're allowing them to even ask questions.
Yeah.
Instead of blocking and burying that. So children do experience grief, and every child as adult is very different.
Okay.
One will decide to cry, one will decide to ask very many questions, one will decide I will not
quiet.
talk. Yes, until maybe a later date.
Okay.
I hope I have answered.
Whoa, you have. You guys, you should join the marathon. You guys have done excellently well. And to my viewers, we just have to come to the end of this amazing topic today. Amazing show, Parenting Tuesday. But not before we talk about this book by Reverend Njeru. It's You Are Not a Failure. And a lot of it is about how he lost the daughter and how you can cope with grief. So you can read also this just to get to understand it better. Okay, and finally, we're going to talk about our partners who've really held our hands and enabled us to be online, to be on the airwaves, just to preach Jesus and put Jesus on the airwaves every single day for you. So then join me tomorrow on Financial Clinic, and we shall be discussing about retirement planning. So don't miss that out as well, because it will be helping you also to, move forward in a very positive and planned manner. So for me here at Family TV, Family Radio, I will just bid you and wish you a very lovely Tuesday. God bless you, and let's meet again tomorrow by God's grace.